Standing on the banks of a Dutch canal in 8 degrees weather, wearing nothing but shorts. Over the cold, dark water echoes a call that until a few weeks ago had been foreign to you. But today you know, and your body starts to shiver. Not from the cold, but from purpose and pride, and you start to move. This is how my relationship with the Maori from New Zealand was officially sealed. But I want to take you back a little bit, a couple of months before this time, to explain to you how this came to be. At that time, I was a student in Leiden, maybe a bit too slick, and I was just told I would become club president of the Njord Royal Rowing Club, a great honor. During this training period of mine, there was a mention of a project with the Museum of Volkenkunde, Ethnology, and the country of New Zealand. I don't know how it is for you, but I got really curious. I don't get asked that many times to help out a country or a museum. So, of course, I hopped on my bike and I drove over. At the museum, I was welcomed by the director, Steven Engelsman. And when you think of Steven, I want you to think of the most passionate and enthusiastic man you can imagine. And while Steven was walking me around his museum and was explaining about all the beautiful pieces they had and what they do, you can start to feel it in the air. Something big was about to happen. And it was. Because Steven had a dream. Steven wanted to get away from static objects that had been lying around his museum. Although beautiful, there's no life in them at this moment. And Steven wanted to create this dream by having cultures share their culture and live their culture through different types of people across the world. And he had found a culture that was willing to do so, that was willing to open up and share their culture with somebody else. The Maori from New Zealand. Well, awesome. Okay, I'm in. Done deal, right? You got the Maori, the museum, and us. What else? Well, it's not that easy. Steven told me that I should get a crew together, because the Maori would be undertaking the spiritual journey in their most sacred vessel, the waka. The Maori have long believed, and have proven now, that using those waka, they have found New Zealand, and they have explored its borders and its waters. At that time, I was just like you now, not knowing what a waka was. Luckily, Steven had pictures. And next time I mention a waka, I want you to think of this. A beautiful hand-carven canoe, a sacred vessel. But just a crew was not enough, because who doesn't want to be on one of these? The Maori also wanted to make sure that we were the right kind of people. Can you imagine? They wanted to make sure that they don't just hand it over. They wanted to make sure that it was well accepted. All right, how do we do that? Steven already figured out a plan with the Maori. They would send over a delegation that would get to know us and test us and find out who we are. Okay, this got me slightly worried. How does that work? How do I prepare for something like that? We are all used to job interviews, or maybe talking ourselves into a nice internship position or learning position, and you have to show everything you've done and everything you've achieved. Would this work the same with the Maori? And how would they judge us? All these things kept pondering over in my head in the days to come, leading up to the Maori coming over to the Netherlands. And when they arrived, and when the introductions were over, all the anxiety started to fall away. Because the conversations were totally different than I could have imagined. They were personal. They were asking me about, have I always come from this land? Have I always been so close to the water? Was it because of my family? Was it because of my grandparents? Because of my heritage? How does that work for you? And what are your passions? What type of person do you desire to be in life? questions I'd never expected. And it was so beautiful that I jumped into it, into that warm bath. I immediately got hooked by those people. And they shared their stories about how it is being Maori in New Zealand, the adversities they had to overcome in the last century, and where they are now. It was beautiful. And at that time, I still couldn't quite understand what it was. During the talks and during the day, we got to know each other better and better. And at the end of the day, the group elder, Wana Davis, got up and she spoke. She gave us, because we were the crew now, their blessing. She said, "You're not quite sure what you're about to get into, but you're the right kind of people. You're honest, you're open, and you're sincere. You will do justice by our culture." Can you imagine that you travel all the way across the world to a different place and you meet up with a bunch of students you've never met before, and you can hand over your entire culture to them? Well, I say, immediately handed it over. It wasn't that easy yet. We got their blessing, but now the big group would arrive. The group of Maori that would train us, that would teach us everything there is about peddling a waka, all the insights of Maori culture, the haka, carving, singing, prayers. Another big step. And I got thinking, how will this go? Will they judge us again? Do we have to go through another series of getting to know each other, building up trust? Or how would this go once again? But also, it got me really curious to my ancestral line. How did my relationship with the water came to be? Plenty of questions and plenty of thoughts to fill my head until the big group and both wakas arrived in the Netherlands. And when they arrived, something happened that I didn't expect as well. The Maori group arrived, we did our introductions, and they got straight to work. They started training us right on day one. It was incredible. There was this big group of legendary men and women, master boat builder Hector Busby, national treasure Tamu Temera, and great leaders like Joe Conrad and Chappie Harrison. Coming over, just diving in. They completely trusted their elders to have done their job that they needed to do, to find out if we were the right kind of people. And now they did theirs, because they were entrusted to teach us and to make us the best Maoris as they could do. It was incredible. We dove in, we got engaged, and it took me quite a long time before I understood why it was that I felt so welcome and so engaged in this culture. But luckily I can share that with you today, because it took me 10 years to realize that. During this training period even, two great leaders took me aside. Once again, Joe Conrad, Chappie Harrison, and they sat me down. And they said, "Koos, we've been looking at you, and we think you should be the leader of the waka. You should be the kaihautu, the captain, the first ever captain outside of New Zealand, the first ever non-Maori captain on a waka. We want you to take that responsibility and take it forward." That moment, I still get goosebumps. It was incredible. Everything just lined up inside of me. I can't explain it, but everything made sense. And I didn't need to think. Of course, I said, yes, I want to do this. I want to be the leader of that group, and I will take your culture with me. During the next couple of days, we rounded off the handover, and we came up to the day that I started with, the day where they entrusted me with their waka and their culture. And after those days passed away and the adrenaline died down, it got me curious and thinking. It started to dawn on me slowly, and it took me around to this day to figure out what had happened. It is the trust that the Maori have that is what I want to share with you today. It's the trust that they have in their own natural talents, like described earlier today, that have been honed and trained for many years and passed on generation to generation, that they trust in themselves to do the job they need to do and find the job that fits them. It is with that ability to trust yourself that you come in the position to trust others, to enable other people to do the job that they need to do. So that's how the elders did theirs, and they entrusted the other group to do their part, and vice versa. And beautiful things happened, because it changed a group and generation of people from Leiden. We all got engaged, we all got hooked on this open feeling. And they were so in balance with this themselves and their world and the world around them that we just had to join them. And that's all based on that thing of trust. So going away here today after these talks, take your time. Take your time to find your own talents and trust them. Trust within yourself that you will find your job and your position in life. That will happen because it's already inside of you. And when you find that peace of mind, also give trust to other people around you. Give them their time that they will find their talents in their own time, and they will do their job like they need to do. Do that, go away from here, and I think we all have a better world in the end to give to the next generation, the people that will come after us. And that's something I would like, that's what I wanted to give to you today. It is best summed up in the quote that I got after I sent out an email to my Maori friends if I could do this talk, and if there was anything I needed to mention. I got a short reply back that just said this: you just be you. That's it. Oh yeah, and there's one more thing I would like to share with you from New Zealand.